What's going on, guys? Back at you again with another video of carx-street. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but before we get into details about carx-street, make sure you guys do me a solid and like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell for all content related videos that have to do with racing, etc. So before we actually get right into the detail of carx-street, I just want to say how fascinating the game really is. I actually enjoyed a lot of carx-street, but we're going to be getting into them portion by portion. So basically, I know that Android users have been waiting for a while and stuff like that, but I'll get into that a little bit later as well too. So when it really comes down to it, you start off with the vehicles. The vehicles are pretty much, fascinating. I know there's a short list. You start off with the Civic. I mean, they don't name it in the game as Civic, but you obviously start off with the Civic, which is an extremely slow vehicle. It's terrible. I mean, even fully customizing it is completely terrible too. But obviously the car selection is actually really fascinating, and I think that a lot of you guys will actually like it. Of course, if you didn't feel like unlocking these particular cars, there are ways around this particular ordeal, because they have the premium edition cars in which you would have to spend real money. But the car selection for now is actually pretty good. I'm sure when the full game comes out, it'll actually be a little bit more vehicles. But for now, since it's a flight test, so to speak, and it's been a flight test for months, these are the vehicles presented to you. Obviously they have a mix between tuners, some muscle and some exotic, but obviously you can choose by preference. They have a lot of interesting vehicles of that nature. As far as the vehicles are concerned, the next particular area that we're actually going to go into that I find a little bit more fascinating than just the car showroom itself, because unlike the cars that you would earn into the game, or whichever that you would actually buy, which is not the Civic because the Civic sucks, is pretty much the engine room, which I would like to call the tuner's paradise. This is the area in which you would obviously customize your vehicle and put engine, suspension, transmission, tires, etc. Although going through the game, obviously you will earn money, it is expensive to upgrade or maximize your vehicle. I mean, I kind of wish that they actually had a setup like they did in other racing games, because in other racing games you can actually do a setup with gear ratios and everything else of that nature. Obviously it's been locked for me. I don't know if it's open for everybody else, but the customization in terms of the engine parts and tire suspension and stuff like that would actually be a little bit more useful if the setup was actually there, because you can actually configure your engine parts correctly to your liking. Obviously that's not the case now. Hopefully they'll add it when the game is finished and it's pretty much fully released on iOS. The next particular area that I find very fascinating is actually the body and paint area. This particular area allows you to pick some full body parts, and if you didn't feel like doing full body parts, you would actually do front bumper, rear bumper, etc. Obviously, if you have premium vehicles, you can actually avoid all of that by getting the premium car and actually the body kit with it as well too, which obviously there'd be no use to buy another body kit after even buying a premium car, because it literally comes with it. But it is your choice whether or how you would customize that particular vehicle, because again, this is your preference. So, but I found it very fascinating how they have all of this stuff in the test flight. I actually find it very interesting that you could go all the wild with the customization when it comes to each vehicle. Of course, I only have my RX-7. The particular clips are pretty old. I obviously have more money now, and I have more cars now, which we will display further on in other videos of that nature. But these particular vehicles and the customizations are actually really insane for it being a mobile game. Obviously, one of the features I actually like is the ability to paint certain parts of the car, whether it be the hood, the rear bumper, or anything else of that nature. And I think that's very important, because not a lot of mobile racers actually do stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if Absolute Racing or anything else of that nature actually does that, but this game is very unique for actually welcoming that to us, because that's very important to give us that ability for unlimitedness instead of being limited. So the next area that we're actually going to, aside from this unique area, is, I believe, the map. The map, to me, I found the most interesting, because in other games of that nature, because we haven't had a free roam map in a while, we haven't had a racing game with a map or whatever, we didn't have no free roam or something like that. So carx-street, for a long time as a mobile game, having a map like this is pretty impressive. I hope that they actually further the, the design of the map, because obviously the bigger it is, the better to explore and play online and etc. And I found it unique that you fight against bosses and their crew and all the other stuff. It kind of reminds me of Carbon in a sense, territory areas and etc. So it's very unique. It's a pretty big map. I actually really did enjoy that part. The next part that we actually wanted to get into was the racing aspect of things. The mechanics, I play on iPad. I have an iPad Pro. It's very interesting, but the one part that's my pet peeve is not the controls, because the controls are pretty easy to figure out. It's these idiot drivers that push into you when you're trying to slow down. It's almost like they don't know how to drive. It's insane. I mean, other than that, I'm pretty sure that people can relate, and maybe from a certain perspective, the drivers, the NPC drivers at most, is really just insane. Like, it's really not that difficult to actually learn the controls for the game, but it obviously gets annoying when I'm literally trying to drive and finish off the race, and then I'm getting hit by these fish burglar kids. It makes no sense to me. But other than that, as opposed to the driving mechanics, they feel clean. The controls, they are very simple enough to understand, and the whole experience of driving in this game is just wonderful to me. I haven't really played a game on mobile yet that actually felt that particular way. But I will say that if there's one thing I feel like they should add into the game that's missing, is controller support. Because although I love playing on mobile, with these particular controls, and I know that it's by preference, I can't really play the game in that particular way because of my fractured hands. It would not allow me to be able to play anything more than just an hour. But either way it goes, I think that the mechanics are good. I believe that, the online portion of racing is actually good. I think online is great. I mean, I've met a lot of good people within the online portion. I think it's really fun. I believe that they should really add events, because I mean, it really is boring when you're constantly just doing free roam, and it makes it seem like it's just car meets and cruises, whereas this whole purpose will be defeated if you can't even add certain modes within the game. Which also brings me into the area where I feel that people need to understand that as much as we want all these things for carx-street, and the date's getting closer for it to be released, because obviously the PC port releases, December 15th, but obviously the Android or iOS version, mainly the iOS version, it comes earlier than that. But realistically, when it comes down to it, I think that this game is great, and I know that this is very anticipated, but a lot of people really need to kind of be a little bit patient, because as a couple of my buddies talked about before, we have gotten news about the stuff that was happening between Russia and Ukraine. And it's really hard for the developers, because I don't know if you know that they're in Russia right now. So it's hard for them to be able to work on this particular game and give you what you want when there's a lot of stuff going on in that particular side of the globe. So you have to be very patient when it comes down to those things, because this is not something that is completely easy for a company to be able to bring forth to us, although we have been waiting forever. I get it. I feel the same way too. you know. So when it comes down to it, I feel that, you know, this game is amazing. Obviously there's a lot of things that need to be done, as far as events are concerned, as far as cars is concerned. You need to obviously give us setups, because I know a lot of people really want to use their vehicles to the fullest potential, and we can't use it to the fullest potential, because I obviously believe that once you put a car to max, I don't think it's necessarily max. I think that you really could push it above and beyond. So give us the settings to actually push those cars, and, you know, work on the particular settings for suspension, transmission, etc. But overall, the game is good. You know, I would recommend it. If you don't know how to download it, there are videos out there that can actually show you to download this particular game. So that's it for this particular video. Obviously there will be another carx-street video. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy it. Thank you. Peace.